What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch, and today we're doing another episode of Coaching Your Gameplay. Today we have a Silver Mercy player playing, of course, on Saltamura, Triggermura, Drawamura, whatever type of Mura you like to call it, and right away going into the voice comms to see if people are in voice chat. Now, maybe I would suggest to type into the chat to remind people to join in, especially if you're going to be using voice comms. At the very least, if people don't participate in making callouts, at least they can hear important things like, oh, Genji, behind you, there's a Winston, look out, things like that. And that can make very major in winning more games. Now, Mercy is a interesting support and has been pushed up and down through the meta depending on what heroes were in vogue at different points in time. But one thing's for certain, that she's very good at lower ranks of play and always has been, and I think even good now at all ranks of play due to the Lucio changes in particular. And you actually can get away with team comps like the one we're looking at right now. Now, without a Lucio, what it means is our win condition to win at the choke is to poke and win an ult exchange. If you have a Lucio, you probably want to set up a normal initiation. Those types of things are hard to do at lower ranks, especially silver. So that's why I'm not going to criticize not having the Lucio here, but we have to keep in mind of what we're actually playing for. We're playing for a choke pickoff and then eventually winning with like Graviton later in the fight. That can really work very well. So coming out of spawn, and I did watch this gameplay before. Something that we're going to be doing more is scheduled streams where we do coaching in mass. Videos that go on the channel like this are ones that I picked out especially, and right away not looking so good. Zarya getting picked off, and something that we can know for sure and how to engage properly as a team is to, one, not let a thing like this happen, okay? When a hero dies on your team, it's perfectly acceptable, and not just acceptable, but the correct way to play, to take your whole team and just go back to spawn and take Zarya's hand and walk her back up the street and make sure she stays behind the Rhine shield on the point of contact. Because honestly, this is kind of a unacceptable way to start out a team fight. Like, you can't have somebody who has lots of HP dying immediately when you have the Rhine shield up in front. Just poor mechanics altogether. Also, incredibly scary when this happens. Reinhardt dives straight in to the point of no return. No way we're going to get any value out of that charge. Now, the downside is we've just dealt 400 damage to this Zarya when she died. She eventually came back to spawn, and Reinhardt himself just fed his life as well. He wants to play the Lucio initiation style, maybe, where everybody just goes in with him. He dives in, pins something, and you start to just trade out, which is an effective strategy, of course. Why? Because you can manipulate the fact that the enemy has further respawns. If you at least go 6 for 3 on the trade out, you can be in a good spot. But what you can't do is die one by one. Now, I've said all these things about the team. What about our Mercy hero who just gets hooked by the Roadhog? Feels bad, man. Wouldn't it have been nice to have that Rhine shield there? Would have had a good disengage, could have possibly protected you from this. But as the Mercy player, I think you almost have to be on the voice comms. And I don't know how the community feels about this advice. Maybe there's assumptions that you can't really communicate with some people, or it's toxic to try to be the leader on the team. I've said this before, and I'll say it here. Even I don't feel incredibly comfortable communicating with the team because it's either my tone of voice or my personality rubs off on people the wrong way. And I try to say something that needs to be done, that I know should be done, that I've learned from either the pros or knowing what works on the specific map, some knowledge that I have, some vision that I have even, especially as the support player playing here in the back line. You can see that your Rhine is pinning in. Remember, you can see through walls as a support, and your friendly teammates can't see as clearly. So with that being the case, getting your team to engage properly is something that can be a big advantage. Now, unfortunately, this happens. Not a huge fan of this massive dive in by Zarya. So many times have we been on this engagement, and I'm going to rewind here, not facing as 6. The cool thing that happened here is, like I said at the start, we're playing to try to win an ultimate engage. Rhine is charging in by himself. This guy could use these callouts that I'm talking about so many times. Just get on the comms and say, Ryan, just wait for us. Like, Ryan is trying to pin in, and a lot of players, I think, are negative to an aggressive Ryan. They just hold the shield all the time, especially at the lower ranks. That's what they say. But instead of that, harbor that aggressiveness from your Reinhardt player and ask him to just wait for you guys to be together so you can support him, because that's what he needs. Now, The good news was, before we dove in here with Pharah, was that they popped a bunch of ults here at the choke to kill us. Now, we're smart in not rezzing here, and I'll explain why that's a good res later on with a different example. But at this point, the enemy defense has been turning this corner to pop ults to win team fights. They popped Whole Hog, Earthshatter at some point, Pharah Barrage came over the top. And this means a few things. They'll have less resources for this next team fight that we could have at the choke. So the best thing that we could do here is get all these guys to hold hands back to spawn, and then regroup as 6, come back out, and pop our ults, because we have ults. And I think the Zarya is close to her ult. We can group up and have a big fight here. Even if a few of us die, we can res everybody back up, and very, very likely that we're going to have man advantage if we just manage our ults properly. It's just a Q pressing game, guys. These are pro strats, but they're not so professional that you can't do them yourself. It's one almost pet peeve of mine when I say, well, the pros would do this. Well, we're not pro players. Well, guess what? Pro players are not inhuman beasts mechanically when they play Mercy or Zarya or something. They press Q at the right time oftentimes, and that's a playstyle you definitely can manage. Now, luckily, the enemy Roadhog is doing almost nothing to stop your fairly aggressive Pharah flank over here. I think committing to keeping her alive is actually a pretty good idea, because if our fire player just flies in this way and gets hooked by the Roadhog or shot without healing, she's kind of left without a prayer. But getting up here now is sick. I didn't like being in danger zone, but if we're able to get this angle as this team fight breaks out, because now, although I would have preferred us to stay in spawn and regroup, we came out, we've been floating around kind of scouting out here in the open. From this angle now, we can rain down damage boosted rockets, which are the bane of most players' existence right now. Once we set up an angle like this, we're pretty much golden, and of course, at this point, I know we have grav. If we just grav anything here, get any sort of grav value, the damage boosted rockets are all the follow-up we need, because we're going to have a nice clear angle of attack. This is the type of stuff that you can set up over the voice comms if you see this play happen. Now, the grav does come out, but where's the kill feed? Did the grav get eaten? Because I didn't even hear anybody. Okay, so grav gets nothing. Disappointing right there. I think making sure that you, as a support too, you can kind of see where your teammates' ults are at, because you have a nice view of the battlefield at all times. And with that being the case, you can make sure that your Zarya and your Pharah are coordinating on that, because the grav either got ate or just didn't get followed up at all. Now, unfortunately, this res from our Mercy hero looked bad on paper, but I'm not even against it necessarily in theory, because in this fight, we popped grav already. We've, like, committed to this fight. So it's more so that we're in silver rank right now with silver teammates that this res doesn't work out for us. If the rest of our team were popping up all the other ults into the fight here with the grav to just commit fully to this fight, it might have been okay. Now, the positioning of the res wasn't great either. I mean, we're resing Pharah, who ults from the low ground into the hog. That, you know, I would have preferred the Pharah to run away with that opportunity. But either way, once you start popping your resources, I'd rather everyone over ult than be restrained with it. Because I wanted to know where the nano boost was. Where's the soldier sights? Soldier's just about to get his ult now, so maybe he didn't have it for that fight. But that's how you win these maps, because now we're getting to the point where we have 30 seconds on the board, and our ults aren't going to be very good. So they're going to have to find some pretty lucky value. The best chance we had was to pop grav altogether and just pop everything at once and queue your way to victory. As long as you hit the Mercy, and she didn't get res value, you just win that way. But anyway, we go Junkrat on attack, I think, instead of the Rhine, which is interesting. But we're going to be blasting into this choke. And because the enemy Rhine goes down, we're able to just walk in with all of our extra DPS, and we're looking pretty good right now. As the Mercy player, we're just keeping everyone topped off. We're damage boosting our DPSs. All the mechanical things that our Mercy's done thus far, I've really liked. And up to the point where they could be criticized. I don't know what I can say. That's what I'm trying to say. There's not really much to say. The teamwork matters so much more than anything individually that our Mercy has done. Okay, this grav. Not really sure about that. I don't mind it because we absolutely have to win this point. But I think if we knew how many teammates were on point, or enemies rather, this was a 6v2, 3, question mark? Terrible writing, I know. I don't have good penmanship, with the mouse at least. Callouts like how much the man advantage is or isn't can make sure that people don't use their ults in those situations. So there's nothing that our Mercy could have done individually to make sure that that fight went better, other than pressing tab, seeing that Zarya had ult, we had Nano, and knowing that it's just Pharah, right? A call out like that can go a long way. If you say it's just Pharah, or Pharah and whomever else was left on the point. If you say that, your teammates might know that they don't really need Grav Diva Bomb. Because think about this. You don't have a whole lot of time to build up ults again. Now, luckily, you definitely made sure that we got point A back there with that investment of all those ults. But imagine if you had Nano, Grav, Diva Bomb right here, which I think because you were 6v3 at the point at the time, or maybe 4, it's likely you could have got away with that. And a player like Mercy, who spends a lot of her time in the back, keeping herself alive and holding beam, is really in a good position to make these strat calls. So this next half, I think we're able to get better examples of good reses and poor reses, from what I remember from watching the gameplay at least. Here we have the similar situation that we had on point 1, where one of our teammates goes down early on the choke. In this situation, we just have to regroup, right? Because watching the kill feed, and again, as we're holding this beam out, we need to keep watching the kill feed and communicating what's important about what we're seeing. And when the Ana goes down and somebody goes in and goes down, it's always a time for a regroup. Now, Liam has made some really good 2CP videos on our channel. More specifically, I think point 2, we've only done Anubis thus far, but Hanamura goes the same, in that we cannot afford to take any deaths on this initiation. We can't afford to have trickling in happen. That's not how 2CP is won. Instead, what you need to happen is off the break of the fight, right off the initiation, something immediately has to die, and we have to be man up, not man down. This Bastion is killing everything. It's got like multiple kills so far, and we already have things in spawn. So now we have 2 bodies down at the point, teammates in spawn, and Ana here. This is not a good res. And I'm going to show again once we look back at the point. Ignore the fact that Pharah ulted. Because, of course, if you res into an ult, you're probably going to die anyway. But besides that, you have to make sure that we're setting up res to put us in a situation that we're at an advantage. Because remember, the enemy team holding this point B, they spawn right here. So the way you win this objective is to overwhelmingly win. To just kill, push them all back to spawn, and then control the point. So in order to do that, you need to get some sick ultimates right at the point of contact, and then push them back into spawn, and spawn trap them, essentially. Resing us to get 4 on point against the Bastion, which we haven't done anything against right here. We still have a threat here, we have threats here, we probably have threats on the high ground. We were much better with just holding this res. Because whether the Pharah ulted here or not, like, he just trickled in now, after all this damage has been taken. Diva's still in spawn. Really making sure that you get some discipline. Oh, no, soldier, no, the fight is lost. We still have 2 minutes left. We use sights. And the problem with this kill right now is that she's going to be here before multiple of our teammates are. It's a big tug-of-war battle with these spawns, guys, because we have people coming out of spawn this way, they have people coming out of spawn this way, but the path that you have to take, the run back time, is 10 seconds, 20 seconds, depending what character you are, and for them, it's 3 seconds. So kills when you don't have the fight engaged just aren't worth anything, unfortunately. So anyway, we're poking at the choke, which we kind of have to do now because we use so many different ultimates. Because imagine the setup we could have had before we popped res and sights to no avail on the point. What we could have done is sent our D.Va at the Bastion, right? Eating up all his shots so that we could close the distance and get things close that don't die immediately to the Bastion. Try our best to kill the key targets, right? Because Bastion is really good when he's set up, not so good when he's coming out of spawn, because he'll have to set up again. But if we kill the Bastion, maybe kill a tank or the Pharah, and even wipe our whole team, we could have rezzed the point and then have people up, have the Bastion dead, and have some control and be able to snowball on away, especially if we res sights back up. But now, since we have no resources, we're kind of forced to just stand here at the choke and hope that an opening comes to us. Roadhog uses Whole Hog on the right side, and our flanking D.Va and Junkrat are way over here, meaning that they're not going to get any Ana healing support from this angle. So the correct call out would be to have these guys regroup, or die, or hide. Those are the three options. No, our Junkrat's right here. I don't know. Somebody is back there. Soldier, maybe. Junkrat wins the Pharah duel in close range. Not a terrible kill, but not a great kill. Because, again, Ana's still coming out of spawn, and she's a key target to have alive, and Pharah will be back. So we're feeling okay about that. Right now, we have set up some map control. So despite this being some silver positioning and not really any team play whatsoever, at the very least, players are going in but not dying immediately. Which is surprising because we don't have an Ana, and our Mercy hero can't really see a lot of these players. Because we're not going to get here without dying. We're not going to get here without dying. Junkrat's on the flank. No, now, Ana's not even back, and I bet you when we turn the corner, Pharah's going to be back. When Zarya calls for group up, and her grav is ready, this is our win condition. Getting this grav to have some purchase. And when we see our teammates down like this, this has to be a regroup call. This D.Va can't do anything alone with these guys dead. This Zarya should not grav now. Please. If anything, here, as the Mercy player, go back to spawn. Because this push is over. Our Ana will just barely be trickling in. We don't have any kills on the board. Our DPS classes are down on the point. You're not going to be able to kill the Pharah without this being up, and probably without sights. This push is over. To be honest, dying here with your teammate isn't that bad. Everyone dying together is better than constantly trickling in like this. Roadhog pushing on the right side. Zarya can be a decent answer to that. The hook's down at the moment as well. Target selection on healing has always been on point from our Mercy hero thus far. And movement, not too bad as well. I actually like the subtlety and control of our Mercy's movement, because we fly fast to be able to get to the hero that needs healing, but we don't go far or too far to get damaged, right? So this is in a panic, oh my gosh, I need to get to my soldier to heal him up moment. But we don't overfly in. We notice that we're going to be taking damage from afar. If you just kept flying, you would line up right next to him, right here. But we stop short to be able to back up behind here and keep the beam on him. That's very good Mercy positioning. But unfortunately, our D.Va dies to the Roadhog down here. And yeah. Yeah, not a good grab. Okay. Right now. None of this went well. None of this went well, of course. And unfortunately, this isn't good either. And this is why. Just like we were talking about rezzing on the point earlier in the video, you want to res to put yourself at an advantage. But the problem is, when we res our whole team here, even if we get 5 people and get play of the game and we're on the highlight intro at the end of the match, this play doesn't do anything that we couldn't have done with just regrouping normally. That's the problem with a res like this. Because what we could have done is take about 30 seconds off the clock, which doesn't really make a difference because we're only in a 1-team fight game anyway. And regrouped in spawn. All die together. And then regrouped in spawn. Because if what we wanted to achieve was to get our entire team at the choke, fighting 6v6, right? The defense is spread out here. They have positioning. Hogs coming underneath. Far is there, whatever. If we wanted this exact situation, all we needed to do was to walk out of spawn and have it again. Whereas, if we run in, do an aggressive play, and get a couple kills, and then res comes up giving us man advantage, that's like an aggressive use of res. And that's what you need out of your ultimates in 2CP. Now, it does speed up our ability to make this next attack. But all these things that just happened, using our ults into the fight, could have happened in 20 more seconds. The defense could have given us the same exact setup, but we would have res in this moment. Meaning that once we get these kills with our ultimates, which is good by your teammates to be popping these. Unfortunately, Zenyatta is going to wreck our soldier. Oh, and the FAR wasn't called out. Soldier was shooting the Rhine shield. I think our soldier player, if he knew where the FAR was, could have saved our Junkrat player. And that's just a really unfortunate pin right there. Not a whole lot you could have done about that. But yeah, unfortunately, the reason why teams almost never capture on point B Hanamura is because of ult fights like we're watching from this gameplay. If the entire team uses ults poorly, instead of setting them up to get money and regroup properly and just toss multiple ults at the enemy team to wipe them, you're going to have a hard time. Anyway, on the stall fight, attempting this. Ryan is so lit. Oh gosh, but he gets an Earth Shatter. And the enemy team reses. Oh no. As I watch this, I think in my head, could have there been some sort of hero play possible? Really, you can't plan to try to get yourself in these hero situations, but I think to some degree, you may have read this and saw that he was so injured that it might have been more important to try to pull out your pistol to finish him. But it's hard. That's like a hindsight call out, really. There's no way you could have seen this coming. Our Mercy player was hoping we could support our team to victory, but unfortunately, nothing was going to kill that Rhine if it wasn't us. And that's it, really. The game was lost with the ult fights and ult management and all that. Not a whole lot beyond communication. And unfortunately, as happens often in matchmaking, no mic usage, but rage chat at the end from our Zarya player, who did not use Grav well once. Feels bad. Feels bad. Always look inward first, everybody. Very important. And I advocate to hop on the mic prior to typing mean things in the chat. I'm really never doing that at all, because what's the point? So anyway, let's get past the toxicity here. Watch the defense. So unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot I could say about our Mercy's decision-making, bar her ult usage, of course. Why is that? Well, because Mercy doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, and there isn't going to be a wide difference between a silver Mercy and 2 to 3 ranks higher Mercy. The skill set is fairly straightforward in what you can do. What I do like is that we're always angling ourselves to avoid lines of contact. So important. The enemy team also is probably pretty weak at focusing healers, but our Mercy hero almost never takes damage throughout this whole game, which is good. Ryan comes back. They're using Bastion on attack. And really the thing is, here's the deal with this setup, okay? If Bastion's looking this way, while he's set up like this, and we can't damage him at all, we don't want to waste this barrier. And as the support player, when you sit here and you're looking right, you're looking left, you have information that this Ryan's never going to be able to get, because from his point of view, you could sort of think of his field of view like this. Like, this is where his camera is. It's like positioned right here. And it's zoomed out, and he can see just immediately behind him. So other than the fact that you have this beam on him, I just sort of accidentally drew a big smiley face. That was pretty neat. He barely knows this Ana's here. Like, maybe he turns a little bit. She's only hardly in his vision. So when we don't have any DPS classes utilizing this shield, or we're not even pistoling it, like I'd rather, if we're gonna have the shield up at all, you might as well be pistoling the Bastion. Meanwhile, you could be calling out that, you know, save your shield, because from this angle, the Bastion is looking to get free damage at whatever he can see. What Bastion needs to do is get himself here, which is difficult. It takes the transition time to go in and out of turret form. But he can't really see much from this angle unless we give him something to shoot at. And the way you stop a Bastion is catching him in transition while he gets to some relevant place, which would be either here, or if they push the Rhine back and everyone's running away, maybe they eventually get it here, and then he can just see everything. But from here, he sees nothing. So there's no value in peeking that angle. Other than Soldier was behind peeking it, so sort of ignore everything I just said to some degree, but the Soldier was able to kill the Lucio through all that. However, at some point, we are going to need this Rhine shield. If the Rhine shield goes down, due to the Bastion shredding it for free, we can quite quickly be at a bad place. Monkey's behind, killing the teleporter, but our Symmetra player kills him. I also want to note the value of our Mercy hero turning around every once in a while. I don't see this enough in a lot of other ranks. It's one of the biggest little tips that I try to give out, and that's basic awareness camera panning. So when we see that the teleporter goes down, we're looking back. We're looking back to see who needs help. Because if Sim jumps out of that doorway, we're going to be able to fly to her to protect her, which is really good. Good awareness by our Mercy player. Also, this positioning is really strong. From here, when something comes at the door, we always can peel back behind it. The Hanzo coming from this angle is really strong. This is what Liam does, and like he showed in his Hanamura .1 video. And he can look towards this way with scatter arrow and stuff. But still, we can run away from this angle. And while being here, we can see everybody. So, really good. Like this spot. Positioning yourself right as a Mercy is always really good. Now, as soon as I hear this Bastion come out, I'm thinking, like, we're in res mode. So, flying across the fight there to save Ana, though felt like a good instinct, because our support sometimes needs support herself. She only can heal herself with a nade. We're in a scary place. Our team peeled back away from it, which is actually a sick play, because instead of just taking the fight with the Bastion with a tank and Zenyatta keeping everything alive for infinite time, we all just peeled back. This was a sick play by everybody, and now we're nano sightseeing. Probably don't even need the nano boost. Now keep in mind, you can't stack damage amp on nano anymore. That's a pro tip. They removed that. They removed any stacking of resistance, or is it resistance and damage? Shoot, I have to look that up. Live comms. Sorry about that. I'm pretty sure you can't damage amp nano. There's a strict cutoff. It only goes up to 50%. At least the resistance does. That was a change that the Bastion rework did. Now, our Symmetra went down. And in some instances, you may have to consider a one-person res here. because the run back time from spawn for the defense to point 1 is forever. And they'll have 6 at the choke to our left here, and we'll have 5, undoubtedly, trying to defend. Symmetra is going to be slow. One cool thing you could do is tell that Symmetra to pick Lucio if you didn't have one yet, which we don't, because we're not going to get telly value in a minute. We're not going to come back with Sim in a 5v6 and likely get a telly. Probably not going to happen. Asking the Sim, who died a few seconds ago, to swap to Lucio, or even to Tracer if you want a single heal. Oh wait, we had triple support. Yeah, probably to Tracer would be better. Oftentimes there's single support with a Sim, but I don't mind it being 3 support tech, really, because Sim's not really a support. She's a builder, damage dealer type hero. Oh, what did Reinhardt do, ladies and gentlemen? He went in too deep, I think. Another really subtle and top-level Mercy stop. We were flying to support the Reinhardt, but as soon as we saw that there was too many members of the enemy team, we just stopped mid-flight. That's a really good play. We wanted to support our teammate, but because he made a mistake and we were just going to lose that anyway, we're just going to have to back off from it. D.Va launches ults at us, which could have been really bad if they coordinated it better, because the Ryan's not going to come back for a while. Although there is a teleporter up, so everything's looking okay here. That was a scary moment. A very rare exception for our hero to be too close to a damage source. Pharah is a hard one to deal with. It's really going to limit the angles that you can be at. So wherever the Pharah is, you almost have to be against a building, right? So like outside this door, there's a spot to stand here where you could still heal and avoid the Pharah. She'd have to fly all the way around to come get you, or be way out in the open, and then you could just pivot in here, which is eventually where we went. But thinking about when they have a Pharah and where you're safe is very important, making sure you're positioning. If we were on the mic, and although this guy was being toxic, it might be useful to develop a call that I use that I think is fairly positive and not too harsh on the ears or the emotions of your teammates, is that saying just Torb, you're alone over there. Just tell Torb he's alone there, and he might reconsider the fact that he's going in to a fight that he's probably going to lose. It also kind of reminds people that you're trying to support them and care about keeping them alive. Maybe makes them feel a little bit better about the teamwork of the situation. But despite everything I said about the Sim, maybe she had Telly in the pocket when she went down way back when. Either that, or the enemy didn't exploit the timing well enough at all, or Telly was up. I'm not exactly sure. But you got Telly value back up again, and it ended up holding the point just because of that alone. Good game. Good Mercy gameplay overall. I think the number one thing that we'll want our Mercy hero to learn is better res value, making sure we're always getting a good situation res. It's not good enough to just res more players or res a key player. It's resing them into a situation. So you sort of have to have some Mrs. Cleo premonition about what's going to happen in the future so that you know that your res is going to be good value. The other thing, of course, is that when you're playing at ranks like these, a Mercy pick can almost never carry your way out. We win this game, but I think it was more happenstance than in our control. Unfortunately, our teammates are making so many different decisions that are going to weigh very heavily on your support hero pick that the only way you really can get wins out of these situations, if this was a close loss, meaning that if the enemy team played any better, the only way that you're going to be able to win as a support in this situation is to just try to get a little bit more coordination with your team. It can be difficult to structure, but some simple regroups and some simple ult usage callouts can be all the difference between you winning the game heavily and maybe losing this game in another scenario when the enemy team plays a little bit better. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this play-by-play coaching video. I had a lot of fun making it. We can do a lot more of these. If you would like to submit a gameplay, email it in to youroverwatchplays@gmail.com. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. It really does help us out. Subscribe for more because we upload each and every day. Also, link to the description, you can check out our Twitter and our Discord server where you can find teammates to pair up with. Find the Mercy main of your dreams. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.